Hey, what's up? This is me, Robert, and this is a special installment of Eat, Sleep, Play, Talk, Wrestling, Repeat. And this title is called Shooting from the Heart. That means everything I said is coming from the heart. And the gameplay I'm playing right now is WWE 2K15. It's for the PS4, and I'm playing as Stone Cold Steve Austin. And before I go any further, I want to give a special shout out to this creator named Boy Wonder 217, who created these two attires, Chicago Bull attire for The Rock and the Punisher attire for Stone Cold Steve Austin. And two things I really like about that attire for Steve Austin is one, I'm a pro wrestling fan, and number two, I'm a huge comic book fan. So big shout out to him or to that person. If it's for the PS4, it's for WWE 2K15. Go check it out when you get the chance. Uh, this special installment or episode is about being a pro wrestling fan, and I've been a pro wrestling fan for the past 18 years. That means I've been a wrestling fan since 1996. I think that was back in March, and I remember that because at that time I was watching the early, well, kind of like midpoint era of New Generation of WWF, where you got Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Diesel, Odd Man Johnson, Owen Hart, British Bulldog, Yokozuna, all them guys. And I would never forget it because that was like the first match I ever seen, and then that really, that would spark the attention, or should I say, is the birth of a wrestling fan. And ever since then, from a little kid to growing up, I've been watching wrestling non-stop. I watch WWF, and then come around a year later, I watched WCW, which came on TNT, excuse me. And then after that, it was ECW, um, all kind of Japan promotion at the time. All Japan Pro Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Then it was hardcore promotion like ECW, and then it was Big Japan Pro Wrestling, FMW, Frontier Martial Art Wrestling, where I saw Hayabusa, Mr. Pogo, the Headhunters, Mike Awesome, Masato Tanaka. What else? After that, watch Ring of Honor, TNA, now Lucha Underground. So I kind of watch all kind of wrestling, that interests me. And I can remember the very first match that really made me a pro wrestling fan was it was on Monday Night Raw. They were like 2 weeks after WrestleMania 12. I can remember it was a main event: Shawn Michaels versus Jerry the King Lawler. Shawn Michaels was a WWF champion at the time, and he was fighting Jerry the King Lawler. He was a heel commentary, and I remember the crowd started chanting Burger King, and Jerry King Lawler hate that name because it's kind of throwing little jabs at him. And during the match or after the match, I think Shawn Michaels won. I can't remember that part. That's where Diesel comes in as he wearing a Shawn Michaels T-shirt and start giving a jackknife power bomb and grab the belt and slam it on the Shawn Michaels body and lead up to a match between them two guys in your house in a no holds bar match, which is a classic match at the time. And that's how much I remember, and National it sparked it. It's like I can't wait to watch more of it. And after that, I started watching Monday Night Raw, see Mark Henry debut. Then I see Goldust, walking with Melina all the time. I see Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the Blue Blood character, and that made me, grabs into it as a little kid. And then I don't know if anybody remember this on either TLC or A&E. They had this special show called Secrets of Professional Wrestling, or behind the scenes of professional wrestling, and another episode, other show called History of Pro Wrestling. I think that one was on A&E, and the other two shows I mentioned was on TLC. Really show, behind the scenes, this part was staged and this part was set up. And when I sit there, it's like, okay, cool. Cause back in them days when you say wrestling's fake, you had to defend it for your life and say, no, it's like wrestling's real, damn it, it's real. But when you watch it, it made you it made you learn something, and you sit back and watch it like, okay, cool, that's how to do it. But it didn't stop me. Just made me want to watch even more, and made me learn more. I guess that made me a wrestling nerd. I guess. Well, yeah, that made me like a wrestling nerd because right now I like to read. Back in the day, I used to like to read Pro Wrestling Illustrate, years of wrestling acclimates, when they have the highlight from all kind of promotion back in the day, and have history of champions, history of pay-per-views, and what's going on in big promotion like WWF, WCW, ECW. I used to buy them almost like every year from 1996 through 2002. And I think they stopped making those at that time. And I used to collect them, and now I got like WWF, excuse me, WWE History of Entertainment, and two WWE Encyclopedia books, and 30 Years of WrestleMania. And not only that, I buy like bunch of Blu-rays, DVDs about WWE or history of ECW or history of TNA. I'm just like start collecting them. And also, I like to collect action figures too, because I got three Brock Lesnar's, two Rocks, two CM Punks, Andre Giants, Cesaro, Sting, who was in TNA, Daniel Bryan, Undertaker's. And also I want to give a big shout out to my other brother, Brian, who maybe become an action figure collecting. Cause back them days, the first action figure I ever bought was Macho Man Randy Savage, who was a part of NWO Wolfpack, Black and Red, in which it was a cool faction. That's my opinion. I love him to death. And I brought Macho Man Randy Savage, and he come out in black and red tights. The right side say Mandis, and he wore a red uh biker vest, and he came out with a folding chair, and that was my first action figure. And then a couple years later, down the road, then I start collecting all kind of action figures, and, and yeah, I'm proud to be called a wrestling nerd. There's no other way to say it. And the other things that the one thing that really pissed me off as a wrestling fan, or maybe upset, is I won't use the term upset. Other thing that maybe pissed me off is they using terms. And one term, or the two terms I really hate is the first one was spot fest. I can't stand that term. I mean, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Spot fest. If you enjoy a moment, I rather call it a moment than spot fest. A prime example, X Division. When they doing high flying moves and do some awesome stuff, that's their moment. That's their style, and we gotta appreciate that. But no, people want to say, "Oh, we don't see spot fest, all this flippity flip shit." I'm like, bro, it's a spot. Excuse me, it's a wrestling moment. That's their style. When you see Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, you won't call that a spot fest. That's their moment. When you look back, the Triple Threat X Division match and Ultimate X match for the X Division title, when AJ Styles, Chris Sabin, Christopher Daniel, well, no, not Christopher Daniel, Petey Williams, when AJ Styles got dropkick from the wire and made him get flipped over caused by Chris Sabin dropkick, you won't call it a spot fest. Y'all call it a great moment. And that's how I feel as a wrestling fan, because you appreciate all the moments. Um, the other term I really hate, IWC, Internet Wrestling Community. That's another dumb term. I didn't like it because we all hardcore wrestling fans, or just casual fans of wrestling, who use internet or social media as a platform to express ourselves or give our opinion. Back in the day, the only two things you could do is either talk wrestling in front of your friends or group of people who was wrestling fans, or or go to the internet. And the only internet I can think of is AOL or MSN. and I was on to internet. I remember back in those days. But now we got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, they're out there, and we use that as our outlet to express ourselves as a wrestling fan. Either we debate, either we agree or disagree. One way or another, we all wrestling fan. So we need to stop saying internet wrestling community. And another thing I really dislike is zombies. I should say walkers, who is directly, you know, ride and die for a certain company. And mostly it's came from WWE right now. Because I would never forget it. You probably heard me saying this from the previous video. I talking about I wrote for the FTW podcast, and I wrote WrestleMania, the night that Mania rebirth or the night that Mania died. And the whole entire paragraph, the whole entire article about WrestleMania until the last two paragraphs, I mentioned about Bound for Glory was better than WrestleMania. Everybody started losing their shit. And to me, I run into these zombies. Like even to this day, you mention about anything. I mean anything like saying TNA start getting better than WWE or Ring of Honor getting better than WWE or anything that's much better than WWE, they will defend it for their life. And that's a zombie. And it's like you got some open-minded people will agree with it because they got proof. But some be like, you can't talk about WWE. WWE always been better, and we see that a lot. So that's the other thing I dislike about it. And as a wrestling fan, there's a lot of things I regret as a wrestling fan. There's so many, but I could pick out the one that's I could pick some that stand out the most. Um, I think my biggest regret is I should have been a fan of Ring of Honor a long time ago. This year, I'm a huge fan of Ring of Honor. I'm glad to see Jay Lethal holding it down, Red Dragon, the Briscoes. Um, I've seen the last part of the career of Kevin Steen. I My biggest regret is I should be a Ring of Honor fans long time ago, back in the day. And the first time I watched Ring of Honor before it was on TV, you could buy the episodes from PlayStation Network. I'm not sure that you could do it for Xbox, but that's why I brought the first episode when I saw Austin Aries, who's the current Ring of Honor champion, and I remember seeing Kenta for the first time. And when I watch it, it get me hooked to it, but you got to buy them every single time. So that's my other regret. My other regret is I should have been a fan of ECW a long time ago, around like the 90s at the time, but I was a late bloomer. But luckily, I'll go back to history and watch it and appreciate what they did with how they built ECW. And so far, thank goodness for WWE Network, I can go back and rewatch them and relive the history of it. Well, that's my video for it. I hope you like it. Leave a like button, leave a comment, give me your thoughts of being a wrestling fan. What's your regrets? What's your favorite moment? What's your first match that made you a wrestling fan? Give me your thoughts. I may do another shoot from the heart video in the near future. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.